It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us on the conversation. It's absolutely Consumer Watchdog on ConsumerHallaTV, the program where we empower consumers with a lot of accurate information about their right, responsibilities, and the law that protect them in the marketplace. Absolutely, I am a consumer, you are a consumer, we all are a consumer. So you have to join us on the conversation this beautiful Tuesday morning. Once again, I am Iri Hayomi Kunle Eke, and I say that this Consumer Watchdog is your consumer awareness show, your favorite consumer awareness show. And this morning we have something very important to look into, because a lot of us Nigerians, we do this more often, and it is not proper, because every day millions of Nigerians, we all buy and sell goods, we transact at one particular point or at a particular time. So whether online, in open market, or through social media, and all this happen day by day. We also these transactions hour per hour, minute by minute. And while many of these transactions are legitimate, some unknowingly involve stolen property, exposing innocent buyers to serious legal consequences. So this morning, that is where we're going to we'll examine what Nigerian law says about receiving stolen property, why we as consumers must exercise caution, exercise patience before making purchases, and the practical steps you can take to avoid becoming a victim or an offender. But first, let's bring you today's Consumer News Roundup. And now, starting the Consumer News Roundup, we have one or two news to give you. FCCPC resumes enforcement of digital lending regulations. And about that headline, following a Federal High Court judgment affirming its regulatory powers, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has resumed enforcement against digital lending companies. The Commission, as it stands, says the move is aimed at protecting Nigerians from unethical loan recovery practice, privacy violations, and exploitative lending operations. Away from that headline and that news, now the federal government expands consumer credit program. The federal government says it is accelerating implementation of the Nigerian Consumer Credit Scheme with a target of reaching 500,000 beneficiaries before the end of the year. The initiative is expected to improve access to responsible credit and strengthen the household purchasing power. And away from that, inflation is still affecting household spending. About that consumer story, the full story says, although Nigeria headline inflation has moderated to 15.91%, recent economic data indicate that more than 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory continue to experience food and consumer inflation above 30%, leaving many households under significant financial pressure. Away from that, and to another headline, as Nestle launches nationwide consumer promotion. And the full story says Nestle Nigeria has unveiled a nationwide text and win promotion aimed at rewarding over 2 million consumers with vehicles, cash prizes, airtime, and other incentives as competition among consumer brands continue to intensify. And that is it about Consumer News Roundup, and we're moving into the conversation. Let's go on a short break. It's still your Consumer Awareness Show on ConsumerHallaTV. We'll be right back.
I'm here to give a shout out to ConsumerHallaTV, #1 platform helping you to shop smart, spend wisely, and live better. Anytime you have any kind of issues with your shopping, or you want to know a very honest review, please contact ConsumerHallaTV. Here to help you, and please join the community where we can all make life easy and better for all of us.
Hey there, do you know in the world today,
We're back again. Thank you for staying with us. This is your favorite consumer awareness show on ConsumerHallaTV, and this is the program where we let you know about protection and rights. Today we are looking at the market and consumer protection, and our main discussion is about receiving stolen property, why every consumer should be concerned. So let's start with a simple question. Have you ever seen a phone, laptop, generator, television being sold at a surprisingly low price, and you had found an incredible bargain on this? Many Nigerians have absolutely at a particular time you've encountered situation of such, and I've also encountered a situation of such. So, but fair enough, here's the most important question to ask ourselves: what if this item was stolen? We have heard a lot of cases about it whereby a phone was stolen and somebody bought it unknowingly or unknowingly, and the person do not even have an idea that the stone or the phone was a stolen property, and it leads to chaos, it leads to police station matters and all of that. So what if the item was stolen? That's the first question you should ask as a consumer, because buying stolen property isn't simply a bad bargain, and under Nigerian law it can amount to a criminal offense if you knew or reasonable ought to have known that the property was stolen. So please, that is the first question that should come to our mind, or should come to our mind whenever I want to buy any property at a very, very affordable price. Just like somebody telling you that, or bringing an iPhone maybe 17 or 16 and telling you that you should pay 200 or 350, you should know that there is something fishy somewhere. So the law refers to this offense as receiving stolen property, and it carries severe penalties including imprisonment. Yes. So now let's examine what the law says in full. The law says that Nigeria criminal law make it an offense to knowingly receive stolen property. Yeah, and the Criminal Code Act, is applicable in southern Nigeria. And looking at the law section 427 provide that any person who receives anything which he knows or has reason to believe has been stolen commit a felony. Yeah, that is what the law says about that. And the penalty is up to 14 years imprisonment. So that is a whole lot. 14 years imprisonment, looking what you're meant to buy at a very high rate, you're getting it at a lower rate and you're happy. So, and at the latter end, it's comes with 14 years imprisonment. That is a whole lot of unfair story to tell. So as consumers, talking about market and consumer protection, we should be careful when we want to use our own hard-earned money to buy all this stuff. And the Penal Code Act is applicable in the northern Nigeria, and the law says, the section 317 provide that whoever dishonestly receive or retain stolen property knowingly property knowing or having reasons to believe it to be stolen commit an offense. Yes, that is what the law says in section 317, talking about the northern Nigeria, that whoever dishonestly receive or retain stolen property knowing or having reasons to believe it to be stolen commit an offense, and the same penalty of this offense is up to 14 years imprisonment, or you pay a fine, or most cases you have to do both, 14 years imprisonment and you pay a fine. And a lot of consumers in Nigeria fall guilty of all this. So we all must be careful, and we have to take some precautionary steps right there. And so what do these legal terms mean? For the receiving means the buying the property. For receiving, it means you buying the property, you keeping it, you hiding it, holding it on behalf of another person. And knowing means you were informed that the item was stolen. Yeah, some people might not even know that this item was stolen, and some people would have an idea that this item was stolen, but because they will get it at a very cheaper rate, they'll be like, okay, bring it. I know one or two things to use to decode all the apps on the property and all of that. And having reasons to believe, this means the surrounding the surrounding circumstances should have raised suspicion. So for example, an iPhone 15 Pro Max offered for 80,000 naira, no receipt. You should know there is more to this. Or maybe you want to buy a phone, and you want to buy second hand, agreed, and you walk up to a store, maybe let's use a Computer Village for example, and you're moving around, and you do not even move up to a store where the person, this is the person's store, this is where if anything goes wrong you can find the person too, and you just see somebody telling you, come and buy this phone at the roadside, and you bought the phone. It's not even advisable. So as consumers, for market protection sake, we should stop all this. There is no packaging, no IMEI number removed, so seller insists on immediate payment, and that is where we need to be very, very cautious ourselves as consumer. If you're buying a product and the seller insists on immediate payment, or pay, telling you that this thing 5 minutes people go come buy and more, if you get them for this price, so you should reason that there is more to this. So the law expects consumers to exercise reasonable caution, and if something appears too good to be true and you ignore obvious warning signs, the court may conclude that you ought to have known the property was stolen. So please let us all be careful and make sure we are there to all these things, because it's happening frequently, and a lot of people have gone to prison, a lot of people have paid fine of millions of naira, and they're regretting it at the latter end. So there is more to this buying of second-hand products. So we need to, as consumers, we need to safeguard ourselves. So the common examples in the market, the items most commonly linked to the offense include, mobile phone and laptop. It's happened, and this is, a case that we see frequently, we see often, and often stolen during robberies and quick resold through informal markets or online platforms. So let's be careful. Even you see all this stuff on online platform, you verify the platform, you check, maybe it's well registered, maybe you've seen review. A lot of when consumers buy something that's very legit and it's cheap, you see reviews online. So make your research on it. Go via all the social media apps that you can go. We have TikTok, we have Instagram. You get the full story there, so you can authenticate that, okay, to some fault this thing will give peace of mind. Cars and motorcycles too as well. We see cases of all this whereby vehicles with forged document or suspicious ownership histories can expose buyers to criminal investigations and financial loss. You go to a lot of criminal investigation and financial loss. At the latter end, they take the car from you, the money you paid cannot be returned. So as the consumer, you've lost the battle in both sides. So let us be careful. Generator and solar equipment, so all these things happen, frequently stolen during residential burglaries before being sold below the market value. And also household appliances, television, refrigerators, air conditioners, and other home electronics are often disposed of shortly after theft. Jewelry too, and luxury watches, absolutely. A lot of people buy jewelry, stolen jewelry, the luxury watches and all of that. So these items are commonly sold without receipt or proof of ownership. And as a consumer, please, whatever you want to do that has to do with transaction, your receipt is very, very important. Yes, your receipt is very, very important. That is one of the things that you can tender when any issue arises. So the important reminder as a consumer, all of these, that POS agents and business owners are not exempted. Yeah, POS agent and business owners, you people are not exempted. So we all are consumers, so we all should just take cautions and make sure we are safe. And before we buy, let's think and think again. Yeah, absolutely. So buying or using a stolen POS terminal or business equipment may expose you to criminal liability, and the law is strict. You'll be wondering that why is the law strict about this? The law does not focus only on thieves. It does, it's the two sides of a coin. Yeah, it also targets those who create a market for stolen goods. So without willing buyers, stolen property become difficult to convert into cash. Yeah, if the buyers are not ready to buy, those people who do the robbery, definitely there will be need for them to, do all this illegal act, because in the first place they wouldn't know that no consumer will buy it from them, but they know that there is a buyer somewhere. So that would hasten them up to do illegal activities, and that is why the law considers those who knowingly purchase stolen property as participant in the wider criminal chain. If you're lucky and the investigation prove you that, okay, this person does not know anything about it, they let you go, but still it's a whole lot of bad trauma right there. So additionally, under the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, FCCPA 2018, businesses involved in selling stolen or unlawful obtained goods may face regulatory action by agencies such as the FCCPC, alongside the criminal investigation by law enforcement authorities. So if you bought a stolen item without knowing, Okay, still fair enough, but we still have to make research. We have to think twice, before we do all these things. So not every purchaser is automatically guilty. The court will consider the fact, because they will do investigation, and investigation will prove you that, okay, this person knows nothing about it, he or she is innocent about this issue. And possible legal defenses include the honest purchase. You bought the item from a legitimate dealer and obtained proper documentation. So this is where leads us to proper documentation. Now, when we're talking about proper documentation, this is 2026, not 206, or not 2006, not 1996. Please, anything you buy, make sure you have your receipt, and you buy from someone that is well documented, or a legitimate dealer. That's the word. So no reason to suspect. Nothing about the transaction suggested that the property was stolen. And if you later discover immediately to the nearest police station, just go there and have a report, so you'll be on the safer side, and cooperate fully with investigators. If they are making a step for the investigation, you just follow that step wholeheartedly, and definitely they would know that, okay, this person is not guilty, and you'll be justified. So keep all available evidence, including your receipts. Is very, very important. Payment records, seller information. If it's possible to do a kind of a mini video that won't even last up to 2 minutes, just do it for the record purpose. Chat history on the conversation. If you're joining us, this is Consumer Watchdog, your favorite consumer awareness show on ConsumerHallaTV, and our conversation today is about market and consumer protection, receiving stolen property, and what every consumer should do. So this is what consumers should do, and I'll be giving you the 5 safety tips for consumers. Before buying fairly used good, request proof of ownership. Yeah, that has to come with a lot of verification, do a lot of findings right there. Ask for receipts, warranty document, or vehicle ownership papers. All this proper documentation that needs to be within your reach. And verify electronic devices as well. Check the IMEI number on mobile phones and confirm the device has not been reported. Talking about the reported stolen, where verification services are available. And buy from reputable sellers. If you want to buy, because most of the time as well, let's use it that way, we all as consumers, we buy all the second hand because we do not have the money to buy the new one. So even if you want to buy the fairly used property, you should buy from a reputable seller, someone that is legitimate, that as something that is linkable. Yeah, that is it. Avoid suspicious roadside or hidden transactions. Do not do roadside transactions, do not do hidden transactions, and be wary of extremely low prices. A significantly lower than market price should always prompt further questions. You should ask questions when you see that, oh, these prices are below normal. So you should ask questions. And you should also record seller information. It is very, very important to record. Have their contacts, do a whole lot of things, record briefly, video, take photos and all of that. Just put them on your save note on your phone, and obtain the seller full name, the phone number, the address, and valid means of identification whenever possible. And you should remember that if you benefit from the proceeds of crime, you may also face the consequences of the law. That is why it's very, very important that we all as consumers, we make sure that protection is very, very important. And receiving stolen property is more than a criminal offense. It fuels theft, robbery, and organized crime by creating a market for stolen goods. So as consumers, every purchasing decision carries responsibility. Make sure you ask questions. Always ask questions. Yoruba adage that says, that when you ask, definitely you would get to the right place. So always ask questions, be very inquisitive. Demanding proof of ownership and refusing suspicious bargains help protect not only your finances but also the integrity of the marketplace. And an informed consumer is a protected consumer. Have that. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation. Today's discussion reminds us that protecting